Okay, so it's nearing the end of June and I decided I really needed to squeeze in a garden tour, so we're gonna get started. So when you first walk in our garden, we have our hose set up from here, and then we have this bed, which is just kind of a throw-in bed that we wanted stuff that would grow, like mint and oregano. We have some chives up here. There's some pretty yarrow over there. We have some more mint back there. And then I threw in some horseradish. And right here, we have some comfrey. It'll start doing better. I just transplanted it a couple days ago. And then we have a couple pots with lavender. So it doesn't look as pretty as it did earlier in the season. These are grape hyacinth that I guess maybe those are the seed pods. And then we have lots of violets up here. We have lots of violets this year. This is a sedum that we really like. Here's some irises. They didn't bloom this year, but I anticipate they'll bloom next year. But that little one is a lemon balm. And then we have lemon balm and catnip. There's the pup. We also put some, here is some arnica. So we'll see how it does this year. Over here for now is a little crazy, but we have our chicken tractor set up for the chicks, but they're still pretty little, so at night we've been taking them in. Here's some more lavender that I'm trying to start from cuttings. Here's our raspberries. They're doing a lot better this year. I'm not sure how many we'll harvest, but they're getting really well established, and that's kind of what we're looking for. We have our rhubarb here, and then I threw in some chamomile, and I need to harvest, but as you will see, we have lots and lots of chamomile. These are 2 little apple tree starts that my mother-in-law started from seed that we had that was sprouting in an apple, so that was pretty fun. Yeah, I'll just cover them to make them protected from the grasshoppers. I threw in some extra garlic here. I've already pulled up a few because they've collapsed, but some of them are looking pretty good just for throw-in garlics. Threw in a kale back here, and there's a kale up there. Kids love to just munch on kale. Put a calendula over here, and we decided to put some squash over here. So just an overflow, and we have the space, so it's kind of nice. This back row over here is our cucumbers. Some of them look really, really good. It's pretty exciting to see the really healthy ones, but we did have some trouble. We had a couple frosts that were pretty late, and we lost some of them, so we're just thankful for the ones that came up. Here's a calendula. Hasn't flowered yet, but it's about to. And then we throw in some oregano back here, and then this is like the back end of the strawberry row. The front end is where all the violets are too. But we've had some strawberries. I think I'll end up chopping some of these violets down so the strawberries can have a little more space. But it's a pretty, very, very pretty row. And then we do have a red currant right here, and the kids like to munch on them. Haven't really harvested them, but they sure are pretty, huh? Over here, this is the chaos gardening that I love. I put some winter sown kale in here, and I threw in some basil just to see what happens. There's some chamomile. This is all cilantro that's gone to seed. Then there's lettuce that's gone to seed too. Lots and lots of lettuce. This is actually our potato row, and it's pretty wide, and it's hard to see kind of, but I decided, since, you know, there's already a hose going down this way and stuff, I put up this little wire, and then I sowed some short snap peas, and we've already eaten a few, but they're so cute and pretty and delicious. But we have a couple different kinds of potatoes, and we'll just see. It's not as much as I think I would have liked, but better than nothing. So back here on this side is the rest of the cucumbers, and then the back. But the kids are gonna weed eat this soon. Back at the back of this row, this is our green bean row, and we're gonna cover it with like a little hoop house like over there, but they're not too big yet, so we still have time. But these are all some Sweet William, which are a beautiful flower, and they smell so good. And then this and that and this are all marshmallow. So this, obviously, that one's huge. That one's from last year. It had got good and established roots. It didn't do super well last year, but it established good roots, and look how beautiful it is this year. And then these ones are just winter sown from this year. This is just some dill. I think my mother-in-law put this dill in back here. And then of course more violets and some more sweet william. So we have green beans. These are all just going to be bush beans because we get attacked by grasshoppers really bad, and so the grasshoppers love the tender green bean leaves, and so this is the only way we're able to have green beans. And then of course lots and lots of volunteers. That's all volunteer cilantro, which we used a ton and then it still just came back. This is volunteer arugula. We don't have as much this year just because we were pretty vigilant to keep it down. And then this is very like a next generation Hiver lettuce. Me and my mother-in-law were just talking about it, and it's kind of similar to romaine, but it's purple, and she thinks that this like established here and has grown a little better. It has big leaves and it's her favorite. Back on this row we have some sage that we put in, and it's actually looking super lovely. These were winter sown sage, and these are from this year. But like, look how big that is. That's so exciting. And then that's just a calendula. I don't remember if I put it there, but that's awfully close to the onions. Oh well. These are onions. We bought some. I was given some, and then we sowed some, but the ones we sowed didn't do as well. But they are looking excellent. I think we might top a few just and use the greens. This lovely flower is a variety of poppy, and it was volunteer. So there's actually two plants here, you can't really tell, but they are just gorgeous. I can see them. My kitchen window is right there, and I get to see them and enjoy whenever I'm in the kitchen, basically. This is our brassica row, mostly. There's a few broccoli back here, and we just harvested some yesterday. And then the rest of it is cabbage. So it's looking really, really good. Like, that one's pretty big. I was the one that planted them. I don't remember what I put where. But some of them are kind of like a cone-shaped cabbage. And then others are like, you know, just a normal round one. That looks really good. Look how big that is. I have this netting on mostly right now for the white cabbage moths. I'm not really sure if that's the exact name, but they're those little white moths. And so we've been protecting them from that. And then the grasshoppers do eat the cabbage, but hopefully we'll be able to harvest like kind of as they come on. And this year we're not sure. It just kind of seems a little bit less, like we're seeing less grasshoppers. So we'll see what it looks like. We love all the volunteers. This is just more volunteer cilantro. These are volunteer ground cherries. If you've never had them, they're super good. They're kind of like a sweeter tomato, like cherry tomato. They're actually not in the cherry family. They are in like the same family as the tomatoes. We have, pretty sure all this dill is just volunteer. We put a calendula up here, and then I think I threw in this chamomile. We have loads of chamomile. My father-in-law helped me put in this arch or arbor, or whatever you want to call it. And then I sowed some peas. This is a variety that grows tall, and see right here is pink. They're gonna have pink flowers. There's no flowers yet, but it looks pretty happy here. So I did some on this side and some on this side. And I did sow radishes. We've eaten some. The bugs have liked them. I'm not sure what bugs. Here's a calendula that's gonna open today, and then more peas. Ooh, look at all these. I'll probably come out and grab some today to munch on. And then there's some dill. This is this is where all of our chamomile is. Pretty much all of this is chamomile. You can kind of tell. And then over on that far side, that where it's more white, that is cilantro seed. So I've already harvested probably almost 2 gallons of dried chamomile, but I'm just gonna keep going and see. So right here, this is some of our peppers. This is mostly jalapenos, or spicy peppers, I should say. And the grasshoppers do really like peppers too. I threw in stuff like, this is Tulsi sweet basil, so I would like that to take off. There's another one here. This is corn I was given. We'll see if it survives, but you know, fun experiment. But we have it covered because yes, the grasshoppers like to eat them, and better safe than sorry. On this end of that row that's kind of behind the chamomile, we have my one rose that has survived. Let's pull this up. There's no flowers yet, but it looks really healthy and I'm really happy. I love rose in tea. It's like my favorite, and I would love to eventually like make infusions and stuff like that. But at this point, I just love having them in tea, and I've not been very successful at growing them. So this one is super exciting because it came back from last year. So at the front of this chamomile, and this is the cilantro, which I'll probably end up pulling up. This is all of our, well, we have one more echinacea, but this is all echinacea. So it looks like this one's gonna be a white echinacea. And then these ones are all from last year, you can kind of tell. And then, oh, my mother-in-law, she put in some special strawberries here. And then, not sure what that is, but here is an echinacea that was winter sown this year. This one was winter sown. This one was winter sown. Same with that one and that one. And oh, look, there's some there and there. So those are all that. Here's another one of those poppies. I'm not sure. It's the same as that one, that dark pink one, and this is the same. So we'll see. We might get 2 rounds of poppies. There's some more Sweet William, and then she has these here because there's a squash here that was getting attacked by the wind, so she put that up, which is a good idea. And then we have some creeping thyme that she put up here, and this is just Sweet William again. We kind of threw it all in. Eventually I will probably pull these, but at this point they're pretty, the pollinators like them. We have some different lettuces and such over here. All the chamomile, more chamomile. And then Sweet William at the front of this garlic bed. I just harvested the scapes last week. Looks like I missed one though. But they're getting close to being able to harvest. And then this over here is the rest of our peppers. Again, it's covered. That's an onion from last year, and I don't know, well, we just left it. Looks really nice and healthy though. So I don't know if it's gonna go to seed. We'll see what happens. This is more of our, these are like our sweet peppers. And then in there, it's not in this side, but I'll show you these ones. We have 4 lavender from last year, and I can't remember the variety. I'll put it down below. But these, we have 4 that we had from last year, and then I did a bunch of cuttings this year. So they smell amazing. I'll harvest them later. I'm not sure when. And look, more and more and more chamomile. Our goats are in a temporary pen over here, and they're pretty happy, just chewing their cud and basking in the sun this morning. So here's our tomato. This is actually, so this is 50 feet long, and then the whole thing isn't tomatoes. Well, basically almost this whole thing is tomatoes, and then this is another 50 feet. We got a 100-foot hose going. So we have just different varieties. These ones I think are Stupice, and then these ones are Strawberry Leona. And then we have some cherries like the Sun Golds and that sort of thing. And then we have a bunch of paste tomatoes at the back. So they haven't quite taken off super well yet, but they are like establishing roots, and we've just had a lot of wind and rain and cooler weather. And so I think as we start getting into the heat of summer, they're gonna do really well. Pretty excited. And then these back here I think are just summer squash. I think these might be pumpkins back here. And then there's a watermelon, and then these little jugs are watermelon. This is all volunteer dill, so it's kind of the nice thing of not pulling up everything immediately, is that you get lots of volunteers. We love it. More squash, and then look, this is our very first zucchini. I think we're gonna let it get a teensy bit bigger, and then one of us will harvest it. But there's a couple more, like there's one there, and then there's a couple starting. That one's really funny looking. And then we have parsley that came back from last year. Actually, you know what's amazing? This parsley came back from last year. Smells super good. And then this kale, this also came back from last year. My mother-in-law had cut it back and she was gonna pull it. She's like, you know, I'll just leave a couple because it didn't come out super easy. And she left it, and look at that kale. So next to that parsley and kale, there's some more squash that she put in, and then a kale. And then this is the back end of the pepper row. And then we have some tulsi in here. So I'm excited. I'm hoping it does really well, and just we're able to harvest lots because I love, love, love it in tea. I accidentally skipped this row. This is our mostly beet row. We have a little bit of carrots, but we all love beets. And so the larger ones in the back, those were winter sown beets, and I had put them in way earlier. And then these were just sown from seeds that my mother-in-law sowed. And then these carrots were winter sown carrots as well. So it's doing good. We have things like this onion that was just here, all of this sunflowers. We'll probably end up pulling up these borage, but for now we'll just leave them. And then this looks like maybe elephant garlic. I'm not really sure what this is. Ooh, look at these. These are the golden beets. So those ones are just different. They aren't that pretty purple color, but they look really good. So I just decided to pop a squat in the shade and chat for a minute. This is our 4th season of growing stuff in this garden. First season was really tiny beds. The next year we brought a tractor in here and we kind of like not tilled it quite. We used a box grader. My husband scraped it a bunch, and then I brought up a ton of loads of super composted manure from back behind our barn from years and years of cattle being back there, and brought a bunch in. And we put rows in at that point. It was a lot of work. Last year was a lot easier. This year was even easier. Really exciting having lots of volunteers, especially if other stuff doesn't pan out. Honestly, volunteers kind of feel like God's gift to us, just letting things reseed, and just that provision of seeing the seeds for the future and letting them, you know, continue. The beautiful, beautiful poppy that we have, I was telling Joel the other day that it really feels like a gift from the Lord, because it's just so beautiful, so bright. It just pops out to you when you look at the garden, and we didn't even sow it, and there's 2 of them there, and so it just got to be this big bush of poppies. And it's so lovely. It's so lovely to see his provision and just his love of beauty that we get to enjoy and we get to cherish and see. And just each year is different. We never know, like next year maybe we won't have any poppies, and next year I planted a lot of sweet william because I love sweet william. It's a flower that I didn't know I loved until my mother-in-law had sown it one year, and I was like, these are so amazing. And I told her, we were talking about seeds in the winter time and what we were planting and all that, and I said, you know what, I love sweet william. I know you can't eat it, and I'm very practical, and I love all the edible, medicinal, all of those types of flowers. That's why we have, you know, nasturtium and calendula and marshmallow and all that. But I was like, but let's grow sweet william. Well, then I looked it up, and in fact, sweet william is edible. You can eat the flowers. So that was really funny. So it seems like all my favorite flowers are all edible. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. It's just fun to share what's going on in our garden. I was hoping to get it done at the beginning of June, but it's now near the end of June, and it's still June at least. The kids have really enjoyed the garden. It's fun. As they like learn, they know what basically everything is. It's super fun. We have pulled out so many sunflowers, but the kids, one of the time we were pulling them out, the kids were like, can we plant these? So we're like, sure. So they planted some on their little play side of the garden, and they didn't look very good for a couple days, but they've been watering them and they're kind of bouncing back. So who knew? We're planning to probably pull out a lot more. But that's the nice thing about having either chickens or goats or both. The goats are eating There's a cat coming this way. It's nice for the goats to be able to eat like the sunflowers and the cilantro and the lettuce. That we have so much lettuce and cilantro that like we have like bags of seed from the last couple years, and we will get bags of seed this year, and so we don't need all of it. So it's nice to be able to have the animals to, you know, help fill in the gaps, and just, you could compost it as well, but it's nice. You get milk, we get milk from our goats, and we get eggs from the chickens, so it's nice to feed them stuff just right from our garden.